welcome you at this talk, which is about the microbiome in cosmetics and the do's and don'ts in this very young field. So my name is Christine Neumann and I am the founder of Mymicrobiome. So first of all, I would like to give you some overall introduction about the human microbiome, which is technically defined as the complete genome of all microorganisms in and on our body, which includes bacteria, fungi, and viruses. In numbers, it slightly outnumbers our own body cells by a factor of 1.3, but which is more interesting is actually that we have, or the microbiome has 150 times more genes bringing or adding up to our genes than we have own genes. And this is very impressive actually, and it gives a rough idea how we would not be able to survive without the microbiome actually. Identity-wise, it's like we humans, and with our genes, we are 99.9% identical to each other, looking at our genomes. But looking at the bacterial or microbiome genomes, it is 80 to 90% diversity between individuals. So that is, I think, very impressive. And we are just beginning to start what this microbiome is doing for us. We know something about it. It is actually interacting and maturating our immune system. It is literally occupying our body space so that you can really imagine it like we are covered inside and outside by those microbes, and they are occupying the space from environmental factors and specifically pathogenic invaders, which would, if the microbiome is disrupted, we have some space to colonize there. But if the microbiome is healthy, we are good, and the pathogenic bacteria cannot invade normally. It is also helping us to break down nutrients. It is synthesizing biomolecules for us, for example, vitamins, and it is also shaping the body's physiology. What is actually influencing the microbiome that lives on in us? It is, first of all, of course, our genetics. We cannot do anything about that, but all other factors that are strongly influencing our microbiome are our diet, our lifestyle, but also the environment that we live in. So it is, do we live in a big city with a lot of pollution and not very many plants, or do we live on the countryside with a lot of good microbes around you? And do you spend a lot of time outside or inside, and so on? Where on our body does the microbiome live? So it's actually everywhere you can just think of. It is in the mouth, in the pharynx, in the lungs. The skin is very highly populated, and the orogenital tract also has some bacteria, viruses, and fungi. The stomach has a very low diversity due to its harsh conditions, which are very acidic. So there's only a few bacteria and viruses and fungi that are able to live there. And our intestines are actually the most dense colonized area on our body. So just to point or to figure out some terms that are very often used in the microbiome field, we often hear the word homeostasis, which means that we have a balanced microbiome, which means a healthy microbiome, or a dysbiosis, which means an unbalanced microbiome, which comes along with conditions like in all areas on our body. And this dysbiosis is a big cause of the diversity we've lost on our microbiome is our industrialization that we all live in, and that comes along with living indoors. It's already starting with birth, so there's a lot of cesarean sections which lead to the first interaction with the wrong bacteria actually, instead of the vaginal birth where you see the vaginal and gut bacteria from the mother. And we eat a lot of bad food actually, the processed foods and the sugar is also contributing to a unbalanced microbiome, but also our hygiene and the favor of living in sterile environments is actually so far away from what we can do to obtain a healthy microbiome, especially in the current times. We should avoid to to be too sterile, because that's also not healthy. And antibiotics and other medication just disrupt our microbiome inside out. So all these factors lead to a destruction of our microbial richness and lead to a very high number of health issues, for example, inflammatory gut syndrome or allergies. Preterm birth is also a cause, or caries in the mouth. Like actually all health issues are in some way related to our microbiome. So having a deeper look at the skin microbiome, I chose actually this picture because that is nicely showing how you can imagine the skin microbiome that is actually covering your complete skin like a second layer. So the skin microbiome is actually the first shield that is shielding your body from the environment, from toxins, but also pathogenic microbes. And this is how you can think of it, like a layer on top of your skin. Just a quick look at the skin itself. It is our biggest organ, or the largest organ, with around 20 square meters. It creates also a physical barrier against the environment, and it has its temperature and its pH is varying greatly, and that is why we have a lot of different microenvironments, and we are able to harbor a great variety of microbes in these different microenvironments. So our body, our skin is like an own planet with a lot of different ecosystems, where in each ecosystem different microbes are able to survive and to flourish. And again, looking at numbers, just to have an idea how many microbes live in our skin, it's 1 million, roughly around 1 million microbes per square centimeter. And the most interesting part is, as I just said, that the diversity between the different body sites is even higher than the diversity between people. So my scalp microbiome is more similar to someone else's scalp microbiome than my scalp microbiome is, for example, to my feet. So the difference is bigger. And the establishment of the skin microbiome starts with birth and starts throughout the first year of life. And it's becoming more or less stable in the first 3 years. And it's influenced by genetics, diet, lifestyle, and living area, hygiene, and so on. We are talking about core and transit microbiome. So we have a core microbiome, which is located in the deeper skin layers, and the transit microbiome is more on the surface of the skin. And this already leads to the next point, where we are looking at the complexity of the skin microbiome. So on one hand, it is very complex because there's a lot of interaction with our body and with our immune system. But on the other hand, this complexity is becoming even more complex because in the research, we have so many different ways of analyzing it. For example, just starting with the sampling techniques, usually the most convenient and most common way to sample the microbiome is to take a swab. But by taking a swab, you only look at the transient microbiome, but not into the deeper skin layers. Then the next thing is, if you look at the ways of analyzing, you have different techniques. One technique which is usually used is the 16S RNA analysis, which is only looking at bacteria and is not going down to the exact strain level. So here we are already missing out a big portion of the microbiome, but this is going to change, hopefully. And then we also have different databases where we can compare actually the sequences too that we find. And if the sequence that we find is not being found in the database that we compare it to, it's just getting lost. So that is all adding up to the complexity. And I'm mentioning this just to give you a picture of how complex the whole research topic is, and that it is actually not that easy to create a product which is doing something for the microbiome, because it's just so complex. But we still know a little bit about it, and for example, the main genera found on the skin microbiome is Corynebacteria, Propionibacteria, or Cotibacteria as it is now known for the human skin, Staphylococci, and Malassezia, which is the fungus. And the skin microbiome has a similar task as I mentioned before. So it's occupying the body space and against pathogenic invaders. It is actively producing molecules against pathogenic microorganisms called bacteriocins, but it's also stimulating the immune system to do so, and it is boosting the immunity against pathogenic invaders, but it's also maturating and teaching, educating the immune system to not overreact, but on the other hand to stimulate it if it's necessary to act on something. So how can we protect our microbiome actually? So as I said, birth is already it's already starting with birth, and the best way is to go as close to nature as you can, and that's already starting with how your baby is nourished. Is it getting breast milk or formula? Still, it's not possible to imitate breast milk, and it's always the best for the kid to get the good sugars from the breast milk, but also all the bacteria that live in that milk. So it's already a good start with that. And then when getting bigger, let your kids play in the dirt and let them soak up all this diverse microbes that you find in a healthy environment and join them. So dirt is not always bad. Diet is of course key. A rich, very colorful, unprocessed diet is good for the microbiome, and exercise has also been shown to be important, to be outside, to move your body, to get fresh air, and to go as close to nature as you can get. Don't do the opposite. Don't over cleanse your house as well. And sanitization, disinfection should not be overdone, but actually specifically in the current times, I would suggest to rather wash your hands with soap than disinfect it 10 times a day. It's really making you even more vulnerable to pathogenic invaders than it's doing good for you. But also watch out for the medication that you're taking. Be very aware of it, that everything you're doing is also influencing your microbiome. And last but not least, get a dog. So that has been shown to, but specifically dogs are enriching your microbiome, but other pets as well, but dogs are the best at it. And so coming to the microbiome cosmetics market, I chose this picture of soap because soap is actually the number one killer of your microbiome, because it's not only killing bacteria, it's also stripping away the sebum of your skin, which is actually the nutrient that you need for your bacteria. And having a closer look at the microbiome cosmetics market, there's a lot of brands out there that are claiming to be related to the microbiome in some way, but there's no regulation in place, and that's why there's claims around the microbiome a lot which are not scientifically substantiated. And there's a definition for pre, pro, and postbiotics in the nutrition field, but it is missing in the cosmetics industry, and that's why a large proportion of so-called probiotics are actually postbiotics, if at all. And the definition for probiotics in nutrition is live microorganisms that, when administered in adequate amounts, confer a health benefit to the host. So there are many key words in this definition that you would have to think of if you have a cosmetic. So most of the times the bacteria are not live. Is there a benefit shown to be on your skin? So there's a lot of question marks here, I think. And the science for the improvement of the skin microbiome by a cosmetic product is actually not there yet. So the actual claims you can make at the moment is that a product is respecting or not harming a healthy microbiome. The improvement of the microbiome is actually, with what we know at the moment, only possible if you're having a skin condition like acne or eczema, where you know which one is the bad guy and you want to kick that one out. But with the healthy microbiome, the best you can do is just to leave it alone. And that is, I think, the future of cosmetics. Concerning cosmetics will need to respect the microbial balance to be microbiome friendly, which leads us to what we are actually doing. We have developed standards, so a certification for products, and we're testing them for their microbiome friendliness. And in this picture, you see an agar plate with the bacteria on top of it, which is normally also growing on our skin. And on the left-hand side, you see a product that was applied. A product was applied there. You don't see the product, but you see how the bacteria are there and are not being killed. In contrast to the right-hand side picture, where we added a product that is not microbiome friendly and killed almost all of the bacteria. That is something that you don't want. A lot of clients actually ask us which ingredients are the cause for not being microbiome friendly, and that's actually a very tricky question, because it's not only the fault of one or two, or in this case, more ingredients, but it is always the sum of those ingredients added together which show the effect. Like we've, for example, tested some preservative as such, only the preservatives, and they were actually not doing a big harm to the microbiome. But of course, it depends on what you add up to it. The concentration of the ingredient is also very important. So we've seen products which are all organic and look very nice, but they have so many different essential oils inside that they still, even though they might not have a preservative, they are killing the microbes. So it is really hard to predict by solely looking at the ingredients. So what we've seen with our testing over 100 and more products is that we really have to test them, and kind of a rule of thumb might be that less is more. Like the less ingredients and the lower the concentration of the used ingredients, the better. But it's never a like guarantee that the product is not harming the microbiome. So that is what we see. We have to really test each formula. And that is kind of how it looks like when products get certified. We have different seals. The one is a big one that you can apply on the website, and it has a grade and a lot of information on it. And we have smaller seals that is available for the packaging. And we have developed different standards for different body sites, because, as I said, each body site harbors a distinct set of key species that we are able to grow in the lab. Our tests are standardized methods, and we can directly see the influence of the bacteria, of the product on the microbes. And we're looking at bacteria and fungi, and we're looking at at the influence from different perspectives. So we have a diversity test, a vitality test, a balance test, and also we're looking at the microbial quality to make sure that there's no contamination in the product. We are already working with numerous big players from the cosmetics industry, and we have certified over 100 products worldwide. So we're really working with Asia, Europe, a lot from the US, and we're continuously growing. And yeah, with this, I would like to thank you for your attending. And if you have any questions, either you can ask them now or drop me an email at info@microbiome-friendly.com. Thank you.